All right, self-made millionaire tips. Colin Plume, my friend Shy. I think we started talking about doing this, and I said, send me over your bio, and you said, I don't have a resume. This is how we started this conversation. I don't have a resume. I don't have a bio. Right? I mean, that's
Pretty much. I
yeah.
don't really have a resume. I mean,
Right.
I can tell you about what I've done in life, but it's not stuff you can put on a resume.
You don't
And
have it on a piece of paper.
I
Like,
never
You've
had a
never
resume.
had it, or you
No.
don't have
I've
it now?
never had a resume. I don't even know how to make a resume. Resume is supposed to be professional. I'm not professional at all. I mean, I make things. What
but you're
is
smart.
professional?
But yeah, it is a good question. I think entrepreneurs are all different backgrounds. Some of them go to school. They go to Wharton. They do different things. I told you, I don't even know if we had ever talked about it, but I never finished college. So there's all different ways you can go into starting a business out of necessity. Maybe you can't do anything else. I don't know if I can do anything else. Yeah. So give me your background. I mean, you obviously you figured out a way to start businesses or get into with something or figure out something that was profitable. I mean, where did it all begin? How did
I honestly, if I just go back, I grew up in Israel, and I'm going to be honest with you. I say it to a lot of people. When I grew up, I didn't grow up in a poor family. I didn't also grow up in like a high tier family or whatever.
Right.
We didn't grow up rich, but in Israel, everybody pretty much got to work. The people who are very successful in Israel, I have a lot of friends that are, the most famous musicians in Israel or the most successful in their field in Israel, and they're all struggle. It's a very struggle kind of country, and maybe not necessarily in a negative way, but kind of like if you don't move yourself, nothing is going to happen. I don't feel like you can be entitled in Israel or wait for something to happen or kick back and relax. It's not a relaxing country.
Yeah, that's
So
true. That
I
is
feel
true.
like it's an incubator for a lot of innovators and a lot of people that then go to other countries and excel. And even if it's in selling tomatoes, like you excel because you're born. My kids are born here, and I'm trying to raise them as to the best of my ability. But I can tell how it's a lot easier and a lot more numbing.
And it is interesting because when you study what's going on in Israel, I mean, most of the tech, I mean, they have the fastest growing tech industry pretty much in the world.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying, it's this sort of part of the culture, this frenetic sort of like everyone's looking for something. They're trying to find their way. It's not this kind of nepotism. I'm just going to fall into daddy's business kind of environment.
Not
right?
really. I don't even know in Israel who has like a business that like or anybody who says I'm going to fall into my daddy's business. I don't know what's daddy's business really. Like a lot of daddy's businesses are obsolete at this point.
Right.
Do you not have social assistance, government assistance for people?
We actually have. I feel like in those terms, being having grow up in Israel and moving. I moved here when I was 21, so I spent at this point the majority of my life in this country. But you can see as a foreigner, you get to notice and see a lot of the things that you are don't get here. For example, like Medicare or social help. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but there is a lot of that in the country I came from. What I now over 25 years here, looking at my family and my friends in Israel and kind of seeing how the country develops, it's pretty simple to understand. That imagine a square where all the pigeons are, and you feed the pigeons, and there is a lot of tourists, and there's a square where we just throw crumbs all over the place. Well, in Israel, there is a lot of pigeons and maybe one loaf of bread. So if you're not going to push through, you're not going to eat.
Got
It's a small country. It's a great country, but it's very small, and there is kind of a ceiling as to how successful you could be. And in everything, not just monetarily successful. Just like you can't really grow much. It's a small fish tank. You can be a shark in a small fish tank, and you'll be a small shark. You can't really grow.
Yeah, and it's a new country too. I mean, maybe that's probably part of the reason there's no this kind of nepotism environment is because a lot of people that moved there had to move there because they had to get out of wherever they were,
Right.
And then they had to survive, and the country was growing, and obviously Israel has some of the greatest beaches and some of, there's probably too many people there now.
There is too many people, and everybody's, I would say, smart, not as an intelligent smart. Everybody is like, everybody's driven. And I don't know anymore. Like, this is a new generation, and it goes over there too. But really, in this country, it's more of I'm not going to say it's easy and the money is growing on the trees, but this is the land of opportunities. It really is. There is a reason why everybody comes here.
Yeah.
You know?
Is that why you came here?
I wasn't really planning on living here. I came here on vacation after the army, and I came here because I was here as a teenager with my parents, and I just came with a friend. I felt most Israelis usually finish the army and go on this year-long trip to India or to, Thailand or to South America. They do like backpacking, and I was more like, I want to go to Miami and Florida and Disneyland and LA and all these places I've been as a teenager by myself. And I just kind of, a month and a half of traveling, I just got a job for the summer. I came with a friend. He went back to Israel because he had a girlfriend there, and I didn't have a girlfriend, so I stayed here. And I just started working, and it was like 5 years into it. I was still working. I just stayed. It just felt so easy to make money if you work.
Right.
And afford. I had my own apartment. I had a car. I had everything within the first 2 months of me being here. I had everything, and that's with zero tools, with, way worse English than this. Not that this is great, and
it's pretty good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's all about reverse compliment fishing with me.
It's just a strange concept now. It's easy to make money
just
if
work.
you work.
I mean, that's it.
But
right?
it really is.
Yeah, it's true.
And I just kind of hammered it. I did whatever I did. I was cleaning carpets. I was doing construction. I did whatever jobs I had around. But I always noticed that there are opportunities. My mind is always racing about, maybe not anymore in terms of making the money, but I always have ideas, and 10% of them are smart. The rest is just junk. But even from the junk, you can make money in this country from pretty much anything.
Yeah,
That's
true. Yeah, it's limitless.
It's absolutely limitless.
Yeah, and especially if you have the drive. I think it comes down to the drive, and also, and I think you were talking about kids. Like, the one thing we're all struggling to try to raise kids, but the one thing that I really try to focus on is just confidence. I think you have something about, if you just have belief, even if it's blind belief. Maybe it's, as you said, not all the ideas are good, but you believe maybe the next one's going to be better.
If I had blind belief, I would be much more successful. I would be eccentric, or maybe way worse. But I'm also fairly realistic. Yeah. I know how good looking I am. I don't know that I'm not further than that. You know what I mean? I'm handsome, but I'm the best looking guy. Anyway, what I mean, it's really one of the reasons also for me personally. I'm very hyperactive. I'm just a hyperactive person. That's who I am. So I can't really sit still, and I always got to do something. And some of those things are maybe meaningless, but a lot of those things do get me further.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Well,
don't really sit and chill.
Yeah.
I wish I was.
I think I know, you're always doing something.
I'm not chilling now. I'm moving nonstop.
Yeah. So tell me about, so in your 20s, Shai, you were worked a lot of jobs. You were just sort of trying to find your way, and found yourself into different things. And then how did the guitar shop, how did you even think to get into this? How did it even start? You don't play guitar.
I don't play guitar.
Okay.
I didn't grow up in a musical house. I always listened to music. I never played. I got piano lessons and all the things we do for our kids that usually doesn't, hold. But I've always had some kind of a tendency for a side hustle. And I always looked at everything around me as value. Everything has some kind of value. It could be a T-shirt, and it could be a car, it could be real estate, it could be anything. Mm-hmm. Sand. People send bottles of holy water or air.
Yes,
people send stuff, everything. So I remember maybe 2000, 2001, I discovered eBay, And I always sold stuff on eBay. There was always like tchotchkes and knickknacks and stuff I found or stuff I had around the house. People would give me stuff. And one of those things just happened to be a guitar that I got. And I sold it. And back then, eBay was like the Wild West. You could curse on feedbacks. You could leave, you know, a buyer and negative feedback and tell him, "Go F yourself." You can do anything you want. So it was kind of fun.
Yeah, right.
It was no rules, and there were auctions, and I remember just throwing stuff out there and just come back a week later and say, "Holy crap! This thing was like I thought he's going to bring like $1, and it ended at like people were fighting over it, and came to like $800. I just made $800 without doing any work."
Yeah.
So one of those items happened to be a guitar, and I noticed that I bought something cheap and I sold it for, I think about it, my first guitar was, I bought for $325 in some trailer in Palmdale that I found on Craigslist. And I just got it to see if I want to play it. And I played it for 30 seconds and then decided, oh, I'm not going to play it. So I put it out for sale and I sold it. I actually parted it out. I sold the parts. And I think I sold it for like $800. And I'm like, holy crap, I made $500. That's my early 20s on top of my job in a matter of minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, let's do another one. And I started searching. I started looking into guitars and slowly kind of educated myself. At that point, I don't really play guitars. I just kind of like them. I mean, who doesn't like a guitar? You don't have to play a guitar to kind of get an attachment.
Agreed.
Like, this is a cool instrument.
Yeah. Whenever
you know?
I look at your Instagram and I see the videos, I was just looking at the one, I think, of the new store. And I think I want to talk to you about how you set up your stores because I think it is very interesting. But like I just walk you or someone's walking around with the camera and the way that they're lined up on the walls and the angles and they're just beautiful.
It's more like a boutique. It's more kind of like an art gallery for guitars.
Right.
And the reason for that is a lot of stores would have slat walls and they would just hang like, you know, a rack of clothes. And a lot of the guitars I have are in the $20, $30, $40, $50,000 range. I also have guitars in the $200 range. And when you just display them all on the wall, you can see everything. And it looks nice and it's welcoming.
Yeah.
And you sacrifice a lot of retail space because you can pack three times
you
more
can
inventory.
layer them on the wall, but you don't. You just keep the way your store is set up from this video is that you walk in and there's stuff in the middle. This is how and then you can walk around, right?
We constantly change it. Think of it like a man cave that you keep moving your stuff around.
Oh, you do always change.
You know?
Okay, yeah.
So we just, it's a small space. We'll get to it.
Okay,
So just going back to the guitar thing, sold some guitars on eBay,
yes.
started to get really good at it.
Yeah,
I got to a
right.
point that I made enough side hustle while making a lot of money in the job that I had at the time to kind of say, you know what, I'm willing to give the six-figure, job that I have now to just do this from home, selling stuff on eBay. I never have to leave the house. I do stuff at my own time, and I kind of just rolled into it. And I'll make a third of what I made before, but that's enough. So I started that, and the passion grew because now I don't have, not that I really had a boss before, it was more like a commission job, but I'm on my own time, at my own pace. Mm-hmm. And I don't have to deal with people, really. It's all online. And I've done it for a good 10 years to get better at it, and learn more, and got into more guitars and more expensive guitars and then vintage guitars. And just kind of self-educated myself. There is no school for this.
Yeah.
You can go and learn it from anyone.
So you had a sales job. You're making six figures, which, by the way, in the early 2000s, even today is a lot of money, but early 2000s is a lot of money.
I was in my 20s.
Yeah, you're making great money.
It was commission-based only, though.
Okay.
So
but
again,
still.
self-driven
Right.
will bring it in.
What were you selling?
At that point, I think it was like home improvement. So because I'm from Israel, usually a group of certain people that come here from another country usually find work within their group of, people or immigrant. For Israelis at the time, it was home improvement, carpet cleaning, all those things. Now it's now they do everything, but it's like it used to be the mall carts, or stuff like that. So just like any immigrant, I just went to my group of people and just started there. It was an easy, you can start work the next day.
Yeah. And
Hence no resume.
right, and no resume. Yeah. And so when you decided to give up the commission job and just do the guitars, was there any fear of like maybe I'm giving up something good, or it was just like this feels right for me?
You know, it was a mixture. I really didn't like what I was doing at that time because it was a very demanding job. I was really like leaving the house at 7, and I was single at the time, so I didn't care. I was just work and go out, work and go out. That's all I was doing.
Right.
And I like it anyway. But I would wake up at 6 or 7 a.m., out on the road at 8, going to Leeds. I would drive to Torrance, then to Rancho Cucamonga. Then all of a sudden I got a lead in Long Beach. So it was a lot of driving.
Yeah.
And you know, at the beginning, the first few years, I know all the zip codes in LA, Orange County, and Riverside County by heart because I had a Thomas guide.
Oh, yeah.
I had a pager. I didn't have there was no smartphones. There was no the internet. You have to wait 3 minutes before you connect with the dial-up on your boxy computer at home. You know, so all of these things kind of made me like more aware of my environment, and but it was very tiring. And also working with people, making everybody happy. Is very energy draining.
Yeah.
So on that aspect, and at that point, I made enough money in the span of a few years to have some savings and be able to pay my rent. So I figured I remember just jumping into it. In my head, it was if I make enough money to just cover my rent, cover my gas, cover some expenses here and there, I'm okay.
You're happy.
I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm tired from doing this other thing.
Yeah.
But because I had but I also knew that I'm going to be hyperactive about it. So I just went at it and made it full time, and it became a full time job for about 10 years.
So you're doing eBay, just buying.
It was really exclusively eBay for a while. There was no other website like Reverb, if you know what that is, or other things. So Reverb is a marketplace for musical instruments only.
Oh, okay.
And I was really exclusively doing that to a point that I was able to buy a house and do it now for my house, not for my apartment.
Yeah.
And then something happened around 2009, I think, a year after I bought my house and spent all the money I had on a house that was way over my budget. But again, I just trusted myself. And eBay changed ownerships and there was financial crashes and everything. And I went down from making this much money to make this much money over 1 month.
Oh my God.
And imagine, just kind of throw an idea out there, $10,000 in mortgage. All of a sudden, I'm making $3,000 a month.
Right.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
And I went in a bit of a spiral for about a year and a half. I thought, like, I just bought my first home with no guidance. I have no mentors here. I have nobody here that really directs me all since I came here. And
you're like, oh shit.
I kind of shut down. I turned all the lights off in the house.
Oh, really?
I was like eating, noodles and like keeping the bills down and like, I got to survive this. I can't lose this house that I just bought with all my money. I've worked so hard. And it took about a year and a half. And at that point, they came out with loan modifications and all that stuff. And I met somebody that, helped me out with that. So I survived. And during that time, I was thinking, okay, I just learned a lesson. I put all my eggs in one basket. And the basket was eBay. And if eBay's gone, boom, I have no income anymore.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I met my business partner, who was working at a guitar shop, and he's a jazz musician, and he's older than me, and he's been doing it for many, many years. He had a lot of knowledge. And we kind of chatted and decided, he wanted to live where he's at. Like, let's open a guitar store.
Right.
I told him there is only one issue. I'm not a guitar player. I can't talk to people professionally about an instrument and about music. You're a musician. You know the language. I don't know the language.
Right.
It's like opening a store in Germany and I don't speak German. I know the product,
Right.
but I can't communicate with people. So we had an agreement that he's going to run the shop physically, and I'll keep doing everything online because he didn't know anything about that aspect. And we opened a store in Burbank because I think somebody told us we should do it because there's no city tax or something like that, and the rent there was cheaper. So we opened the store, and we did it for about a year. And I think a year into it, I started getting the liking of going to the store and hanging stuff on the wall and have like a cube that I can, a canvas that I can paint and arrange stuff and have a place to put all my guitar as opposed to like a storage unit
Right.
or my apartment at that time. And I think 2 years into it, my passion and my hyperactivity kicked me into, all right, how do we grow this? Let's open another store. And we opened another store in Sherman Oaks, which is where I live, and he lives in Studio City, so it's close to us. And at that point, we were running it together, and I was spending more time at the store, and I started getting a lot more comfortable driving that vehicle.
Was it that important to speak the language, as you were saying?
You know, it's more like the confidence.
Right,
You know,
right.
I can bullshit anything, I can spin anything, but I don't like doing that. I like to know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of things I know, to be honest with you. You know, the few things that I know about, I'm very good at, but the rest of the stuff, I just, you know, when you don't have confidence doing something, you can still succeed doing that, but it's a very uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah.
you
Well,
know?
and I think having a partner and at the beginning, sort of, bouncing ideas off and sort of having that initial help.
And he had a lot of knowledge. I mean, I learned a lot from him.
Yeah.
He learned a lot from me in the things that I brought to the table. And it's amazing how so it's been over 20 years I've been doing this. I still don't play guitar. I have all the time in the world. If you think about it, I have thousands of guitars literally in every
Right.
corner of my
Yeah.
eyesight. I just don't have the passion for it. I love music. I can play a little bit, but I don't want to be a musician, and I don't really need to play the guitar. I would like to, but I don't have the passion for it.
Right.
But I do have the passion for knowing things about the instrument and about the history and
Right.
about people who play those guitars and money.
Yeah.
So all that came into play over the years I've been doing that. I learned a lot of things, and I know a lot of things, but I still feel I'm at about 20% of the knowledge I can have. It's a really endless pool of knowledge
Interesting.
that can come through.
Yeah,
you know?
that's interesting. Well, you look like a rock star, so I don't know if that
It's
you're already like 80% there. I don't know if the other 20%.
this is the fake it till you make it kind of.
You could just AI someone playing guitar.
So, but when you first opened your first store, how did you market?
So when we opened the store, it was actually at a big financial bad financial year. It was again around 2009, I think 2010 maybe. Everybody we spoke to, me and my partner, said, "Are you guys out of your mind? You're going to open a store now? This is the worst time ever. Nobody's making money." And
It's always nice to have great friends.
it was mainly that.
You're an idiot. What are you thinking?
Well, the other thing is both me and my partner being Jewish and having a lot of Jewish friends. It's a lot of the kvetching. I'm like, really? They would say it even in the height of the market. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's true.
But it's kind of a mixture of I didn't have a choice because I just got burned, having my basket burn, and I was really disturbed about that. So I had to do something else, but in the same field. I didn't want to reinvent myself. So it was the confidence that I know I'm going to make it happen. And also, maybe it was, again, lying to ourselves or kind of like flipping it in our head, but this is the best time to open a store. Everybody's going out of business. Rent is low.
Right.
There is really, all the people who's been doing that for a living are gone now, but the guitars are still around. People still want to buy and trade guitars. I don't think it's a bad time. I don't think there is really a bad time to do anything. There is better times to do something.
Sure.
But if you want to make something happen, you can make it happen anytime. You don't always have to wait.
When you
for the
guys
moment.
opened the store, let me ask Shai, did you look at a place like Guitar Center and go, we're not going to do it like them? Or was there were you intentional, or did someone open a store that was similar to your concept, or how did you?
There was really, honestly, there was no concept, there was no business idea. I was banking on myself and on my partner to just make it happen. And so just to kind of make it clear, what we do is very different than a Guitar Center or any place that even sells guitars, because we trying to specialize in vintage guitars. So it's more, imagine a car dealership that only deals in 60s cars. They don't have anything from the 90s or new or Teslas. It's a specialty kind of thing. So
I
when
know
you
all about that.
so when
I
you
know
do
all about-
that,
I just bought a classic car. I don't know if I told you that.
no, what'd you buy?
I bought a Pontiac GTO about 2 weeks ago.
A friend of mine bought a Pontiac GTO.
He did?
Do you know what it entails to like?
Can he fix it?
That's
For me?
that's the. You see how fast that question came out? Can he fix it? You know, are you a car guy?
I'm a car guy, but I'm not a car fix-it guy.
See,
but
I'm not a car, like I love cars, but I
Right.
have no idea how to deal with cars.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I won't buy a car like that for now.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna be the guy who's gonna buy the car. Like, okay, how do I do with it now?
Yeah. No, and it's been in the shop for the first 2 weeks I've gotten it.
It's a project.
And then I drove it on Saturday, and we'll get back to what you're saying.
Yeah.
And it stopped on Laurel Canyon in Ventura right there.
So what do you do?
You get the fuck out of the car and you call the tow truck
There
guy.
you go.
That's what you do. And you hope no one hits your beautiful car. That's sort of what happens.
So basically, imagine that
Yeah.
aspect of the vintage car. There is probably, I don't know if you bought it from a dealer or from
Yeah.
Okay, so that dealer probably knows all about these cars. He knows what's wrong with them, what's not wrong with them, how to drive them, how to store them.
Yeah.
Basically, take that, apply it to guitars. You
And
do
that was
vintage
you
guitars.
sort of kind of coming into it, right? I
Yes. And the
Did your
problem-
partner know about vintage guitars, or he just knew how to play guitar?
He knew a lot about it.
Okay.
He's been basically working guitar shop since he was 11.
Oh, wow.
And he's
Okay.
Ah.
15 years older than me. So he always had that experience. And he's a monster player. So but he's not Israeli. So
So you would say you brought sort of the more of the business sense to the partnership.
the majority of the
Yeah.
business sense.
He
yeah.
knew the product, which is great. You got to have good product knowledge,
Yeah.
which was probably what you were lacking at the beginning.
And I also brought in a very specific, I knew a lot about, for example, Fender guitars. I knew a lot about older Fender guitars because that's what the majority of the guitars I was selling when I was doing it on my own was just Fender guitars because Fender guitars are made from parts. They're put together. And what I did was I bought them, I took them apart and sold the parts individually for maybe triple the amount of money you can get on a solid
Because when
guitar.
someone's vintage guitar breaks down, they just need one part.
They need a part. They will pay you a lot of money. You probably 30, 40, 50% more than what the part is, as part of the guitar.
Right.
And I wasn't destroying like all original guitars. I was obviously buying stuff that are, they call it Franken-Strats and Franken-Tellys or stuff that's been put together. Again, imagine on a car, you buy a Pontiac GTO, but
Yeah.
it's the paint is not original.
Right,
Everything is
right,
replaced on it.
right.
So, okay, maybe there is more money in parts.
Yeah,
So it
yeah.
was like that. So I brought a lot of that to the table. And I knew a lot of things that he doesn't know with all his experience because I was just kind of specializing in that. And fast forward 3, 4, 5 years later, I started knowing a lot about other
How long
brands.
did it take you guys try to get to break even? And you started in 2009.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to?
A lot of these answers going to be like normal.
I'm not going to check your
we
P&Ls
made, no, no,
or
no.
anything. I don't know.
we made money the first month we opened.
What do
It's
you mean? You
kind
made
of-
more than your overhead?
Yeah, because we got in. First of all, it was me and my partner. I didn't even have an employee at the beginning. He was there all the time.
Right.
I popped in when I could. And maybe a year into it, we got one guy that kind of like helped us, and then we
So
grew.
low overhead.
Low overhead, rent was cheap. We did most of the work. I still, to this day, with 4 locations, I just came back from the store that I'm running because he's not feeling well, and I gave one of my guys a day off. I'm still very hands-on because I like it.
Yeah.
But we
Wait.
made money the first month, and
But you did not get the return in all of your investments in this first month.
so here's the deal: the investment was very low. We took a shop. I didn't spend $100,000 to make it, to put chandeliers and it's
Right.
like I painted the walls myself because I can do it, and we hung guitars on the wall. I had at that point I think I came in with 60, 70 guitars of my own that I brought that I had before. He brought some of his. We consigned stuff. We didn't really buy inventory. We kind of brought our things in and started going.
Started going that way. Interesting.
So there was really not a lot of overhead. And I'm going to tell you now, 20 plus years into it, on my 4th location, I kind of duplicate it. I take a store, it's small. I'm not going foofy on it. Unless I buy the building, I'm not investing. I'm doing the minimal things I can
Sure.
do to make it look nice,
Right.
clean, and that's it. Nobody cares if I have a nice chandelier on the ceiling.
Yeah.
No, it's distracting, if anything. So you just...
How big are your stores typically? What size square footage?
So I would love to have bigger stores, but at the end of the day, They're all in the 1,000 to 1,200 square feet stores.
Yeah. But I think that's a sweet spot, though.
It's
if you think about
it's
it.
enough for 1 or 2 people to operate it and be
Right.
be good. You don't need like 5, 6 employees in every store.
Yeah, if you got too big, you'd have to have more employees, right? I mean, there's
More employees, more rent,
More rent.
more room to fill.
Right.
I'd rather have multiple locations in multiple markets. Because, for example, my Burbank store and my Sherman Oaks store are 15 minutes apart. People don't go to one or the other. People tend to like. I asked a lot of regulars in Burbank that's been going in for 10 years. Like, have you been to my Sherman Oaks store? I was like, yeah, I'm rarely in that part of town. I'm like, what are you talking? That's 15 minutes away. I do that like 3 times a day.
Yeah,
what are you talking
yeah.
about?
LA people, they don't want to go more
don't
than
wanna go
5 minutes
anywhere.
from their house. Yeah.
You know?
Well, by the way, 15 minutes at the wrong time could be 4 hours.
Well, it is 35 minutes on a Friday.
Yeah, exactly.
But you wouldn't drive 30 minutes to look at a $20,000 guitar?
I would.
There you go. So
There's more. There's more from Shai. I knew this was going to be a good one. We got a lot of exciting things, so we'll come back on the next episode.